Hi, this is Aidan. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be fixing a washing machine. So basically the problem with it is last night when it was doing its spin cycle, I noticed it sounded a bit weird, and also I could see, because the lights were off in the kitchen, I could see that it was basically lighting up underneath, almost like it had neons or something from a mid 2000s street racer car or something. So yeah, I'm assuming the motor brushes have worn out, causing them to arc. So I'm going to have a go at changing them. It looks like it's fairly straightforward. So yeah, we'll get into it. So the washing machine in question is a Hoover. It's a washer dryer. It's a Hoover Dynamic Next. There's the model information. You can just about see it there. I'll put it in the description anyway. So the key thing to begin with is to disconnect the machine from the mains. So you want to switch it off at the wall and unplug it. So I'm going to start by tilting the machine up on its side. So I've pulled it out. Got my little helper there. So I've pulled it out from underneath the counter, and I'm just going to tilt it and lean it up against the wall over there. So we're tilting it towards the detergent drawer side. Okay, so the machine's now leaning up on its side, and we've now got access to underneath the machine, where we will find the motor. So there's the motor, and we can see there's the commutator, which is the bit the brushes rub against, and the brushes are inside these black plastic things here. So it looks like each one, so there's two brushes, one there, one there. It looks like each one's just held on with two screws. So I'm going to grab my screwdriver and undo them screws. Now, unfortunately, my tripod I usually use has broken, so I'm having to do this one-handed. So I've got the screws loosened off, so we can take the brushes off. And that doesn't look too bad to me. I mean, I don't know how long they're supposed to be honest, so perhaps when they're brand new they're a lot longer. But yeah, I'm sort of up against the clock a bit here, so I've got to try and get to the shop that hopefully has these in stock before they shut in about, well, less than an hour. There's an electrical connection on the back of it, so it's just a spade connector. If you're not familiar with them, then basically it just pulls off. If I can balance my phone somewhere. Right, I'm just going to have to lay the phone on its, so it's facing upwards, because I've got no way of doing this one-handed, so hopefully it's all in focus. But basically all we want to do is just pull. Okay, it's not coming off. I'm just going to pause and get it off, and then I'll get you back on. Okay, so the reason it wasn't disconnecting was that there was a little inside that hole in the middle, there's like a little pip that locks the connector in place. So you just need to use something like a small Phillips screwdriver to just press that in, and then as you're pressing it in, if you can pull the connector, it should come free. Okay, so that's both the brushes removed. So over time, obviously, as this is in constant contact with the commutator, which is obviously spinning when the motor spins, these just get worn down. But yeah, so we'll go to the shop, hopefully get some new ones, and then get them installed. All right, so I've just got back from the shop. The guy in there actually suggested that the brushes look to be okay. So he in his experience, said that they've probably got around half their life left in them. So that he suggested that the problem is probably caused by something else. So next steps he suggested was to basically clean the commutator using either a com stick or some sandpaper. So I don't have a com stick, so I'm going to try the sandpaper method, and we'll see how that goes. So there's the commutator. Now to me it does look a little bit dark. Same with the brushes. Obviously I didn't see it when it was brand new, so this could be normal, but to me it looks a bit, as I say, a bit dark. Just trying to turn it, but of course there's still something in the drum. Because of course I was trying to wash something, and when it failed, so, and I've been rushing that much, I haven't even taken it out of the drum. So but it all looks quite consistent. I can't see any of these plates that are, you know, missing or anything like that, so that's a good sign. So what I'll do is I'll just give it a sand whilst I'm turning it using the wet and dry. So I've got a couple of sheets of wet and dry sandpaper, so 600 and 1200 grit. I'm going to start with a 600. I'm not going to go crazy with it because I don't want to make the surface too rough. And then obviously I'll finish off with the 1200. Right, so I've cut a small piece of sandpaper so I can basically just spin the motor, holding that in contact with it. I might just take the blanket that's in the drum out so it spins a bit easier. Okay, so the drum's empty now, so this should spin a bit easier. And I'm just going to kind of... You can already see that the sandpaper's actually taking off some of that dark discoloration. So I'm going to carry on with this, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's finished. So this is what it looks like after sort of several minutes of sanding with the 600 grade sandpaper. So it is looking better in terms of, you can see more of the copper colour, but I'm not really making much progress. So I'm going to go up to a 400 grade, which, well, I say go up, go down if you like. So it's a more coarse grade basically, so it should remove more material. Okay, so it's looking better, but I'm going to keep going a little bit more. Then I'm going to switch back to a finer grade just to finish off, and then I think I'll put the brushes back in and give it a test. Now there is a groove that the brushes I was obviously created, so I'm trying to kind of get into the corners of that groove as best I can, just so that there's a nice consistent surface across the whole width. So I've not done this before, so I'm not sure what finish is acceptable really, but it's certainly looking better than it did. So I'm gonna go back to the 600 grade for a little bit and then see what it looks like, and then I may finish up with a even finer grade. So I might switch to the I think I've got an 800 and a 1200, so I'll probably finish off with either one of those two. So that's what it looks like after finishing off with the 600 grade sandpaper. Let's get the brushes installed. The first thing we want to do is reconnect the electrical connector, which is this spade connector. Just pushes into place. So we've got some different holes here, and as far as I can tell, in fact you can see the witness mark of where the holder used to be, so it looks like it goes there, and I guess it pushes into place on those two spigots. Yeah, that looks all right to me. Okay, that seems tight. Both seem secure. So I've just plugged the machine back in and I'm going to give it a test whilst it's still tilted on its side. Of course, if you're going to do this kind of test yourself, just make sure you don't touch anything underneath the machine whilst it's powered up. Can't see any sparking at the moment, but obviously it's only spinning slowly at the moment. I'm sure if there's anything seriously wrong, we would have seen some sparks or smoke or something by now. Oh, just realised the belt's off actually, so there's no load on the motor essentially, so that might be helping it not spark. But we'll let it run anyway and see what happens. And obviously have to put the belt back on in a minute. So there's some minor spark in there, but that's quite normal. There's always going to be some sparks. Getting the odd flash of the odd bigger spark, and as that happens the sound changes slightly as well. So So I'm going to go and grab my electrical switch cleaner and give everything a bit of a clean. I can see that there is some kind of depositing going on, sort of in the middle of each plate on the commutator. Let's see if we can get a better image of that. So I've just unplugged the machine again because I just want to see how consistent that marking is on the commutator. So I'm just turning it by hand to see how that looks, and it looks pretty consistent, I think. I can't see any plates that don't have that deposit, or you know, more than any of the others. So I guess that's a good sign. I'm sure if one of those plates was damaged, it would probably have either more or less of that deposit on there. So I've just taken the brushes off again, and interestingly, this one in particular looks a lot cleaner than it did before. So I don't know if that's because the slightly roughened up surface of the commutators sort of cut a new surface into this. This one looks like it's got a kind of some deposit there as well. So I think what I'll do is I'll go over the commutator again, just a few turns this time with some sandpaper again, and then I'll give everything a clean with the electrical contact cleaner, which I probably should have done the first time round anyway, and put it back together, put the belt back on, give it a test, and see what happens then. So I'm actually just going to go back over the commutator with the 600 grit sandpaper, because I just want to remove that little bit of deposit that's built up. Okay, so that should have removed any of that deposit. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of this electrical contact cleaner onto this kitchen roll. So this is the contact cleaner that I'm going to use. It's probably best to use a lint-free, like a microfiber or something, but I don't have one to hand that I want to sacrifice for this, so kitchen roll it is. So basically doing exactly the same as what I was doing with the sandpaper, but with this instead. Just spinning the motor whilst I rub this on the commutator. I'm going to try not to use the same spot twice, because I don't want to put contamination back on there. So that should be the commutator cleaned. I'm going to do the same for the brushes. Okay, I've just cleaned everything up. Let's see what they look like now. So that looks about the same really, but hopefully it's not got any contamination on it anymore, if it did in the first place. And this one's still got a kind of darker region on the bottom there, but not really a lot I can do about that. Yeah, so I'm just going to put that back together as it is. So I've just set the machine back down on its feet and turned it slightly so I can access the rear. So to get to the belt, the drive belt, we're going to have to take this cover off. So it's secured by a series of hex-headed screws, I suppose. And they look like they're a 7mm. Yeah, 7mm. So I'm going to get those off, and then we should be able to get to the belt. So here we can see the drive belt. This is the pulley on that obviously drives the drum, and then the motor pulley's down there. So I'm just going to reposition. Well, I'm going to take the belt off first, just to kind of get better access to it. So there's the belt, and I'm going to put it back onto the pulley, the drum pulley. So this one, the big one, and it looks like it goes groove side down. Tell you what, this is being a bit tricky. So let me just give something a try. This is something I've seen on YouTube myself before. So here's the belt. Let's try this. Okay, so the belt is back on. So that trick seemed to work. Just giving it a spin, making sure it's not going to come off. So the rear cover's back on. So I'm going to flip it back, well, tilt it back up again, so we can see what's going on when we test it. So we plugged in, switched on. I've just started the spin cycle, so we'll watch and see what happens. There's slightly more sparking this time round. I'm not too sure why that is. I suppose having the load of the drum is probably adding to it. But we'll see what happens as it accelerates up to full speed. So it's at full speed now, and it looks like it's all good. Obviously there's some minor sparking, which I think is normal for a motor like that, but there's no big flashes, no real weird noises, so I think we're good. Okay, so after that clean, the machine seems to be running fine. There was no significant sparking from the commutator. I'd say just you know, normal sparking from a brushed motor, as I'd expect. So yeah, I think sanding and cleaning the commutator seems to have done the trick. If ever your washing machine starts creating a disco underneath itself, or stops spinning, or makes weird noises, then yeah, it's probably the brushes on the motor. So I just wanted to mention that the shop that I actually went to buy the brushes. So it's an electrical repair shop in Fareham called Abbey Electrics, and highly recommend going there actually if you have any issues with appliances, so vacuum cleaners, washing machines, you know, all sorts, you know, any appliance. Going there is very helpful. The key thing that stood out to me is that he wasn't interested in just selling me parts that may or may not have solved the problem. He actually recommended against me buying the brushes, rather than encourage me to buy them and spend money in his shop, which I think was actually really valuable. So it's clearly a shop that won't try and rip you off. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and learned something. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.